The EU ambassador to Albania, Luigi Soreca, has repeated the call for the government and the opposition to find solutions to the domestic political situation through dialogue in order to maintain the country's momentum towards EU integration. The way in which citizens decided to spend the 8th of March differed across the country as some women took to the streets to protest for improved status in society, while others celebrated the achievements of successful women. Doctors from the Hospital of Leisure protested today, calling for round-the-clock police presence in hospitals following another violent attack against a medical practitioner, which resulted in facial fractures. Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on Friday, the 8th of March 2019. Happy International Women's Day and welcome to the English edition of Aura News. My name is Alexandra and I'm here to bring you the day's top stories from across the country, translated into English. The EU ambassador to Albania, Luigi Soreca, gave a speech from Vau Ideas today, where he attended the event Women Empowerment is Progress for All, which was held on the occasion of International Women's Day 2019. The agenda behind celebrating the 8th of March is to empower women for their social, political, religious and cultural rights. And simultaneously, it also calls for gender equality. We are not all born equal, but we are all born with the same rights, human rights, which are at the heart of the European Union and its relations with Albania. This day reminds us of all the contributions, achievements and challenges of women in society. It is celebrated to show the respect, care and place we owe them in society. Women's participation makes societies more resilient and economies more vigorous. But we still need to break the structural barriers that women and girls face: unpaid care work, unequal pay, harmful stereotypes, discrimination and violence, said Soreca. Meanwhile, in a separate media statement, he spoke of the opposition's decision to withdraw from their mandates. He said that the opposition has made it clear to the European Union that they will not return from their resignation actions, whilst the majority expressed their determination to continue governing. According to the European ambassador, this unprecedented political situation undermines Albania's integration process. Therefore, he appeals to the political parties to find solutions based on the interests of the Albanian people. Soreca was clear in identifying the current political situation as a factor which contributes negatively towards Albania's succession into the EU, whilst explaining that the EU does not lean towards either side of local politics. He called on leaders of both parties to move forward in a more constructive spirit. Standing by the EU ambassador was the DP MP Rudina Hajdari, who has not yet provided a final decision regarding her mandate, choosing to speak to the media as a citizen rather than as an MP. Hajdari issued her congratulations to the women of Albania on this 8th of March, adding that they have the power to change Albania's vision and direct the country towards the EU. Today marks International Women's Day, an event which is celebrated differently across the world, and this year many Albanian women also took the opportunity to participate in a variety of different events and actions. Some attended protests with the aim of improving women's rights, while some praised the achievements of successful women through forums or events. Prime Minister Edi Rama's busy agenda today also included attending celebrations with the women of Fear for this 8th March. Through his visit was preceded by a Democratic Party protest in Roskovec. During the opposition protest, participants set alight vehicles along the road in an attempt to block the Prime Minister's passage. The headquarters of the opposition party in Fear also organised a rally at the site of the Prime Minister's event, which resulted in clashes with the Rapid Intervention Forces. Although the protest did not go unnoticed by the Prime Minister, he did not spend too much time providing commentary on the action, instead choosing to encourage a fun-filled celebration for the women, inviting them to join and dance. While Prime Minister Rama did join in the festivities for a few moments, it wasn't long before he exited and concluded that he was lucky to have survived his brief stint on the dance floor. The 126th day of the protest by residents of Ostia was today led by women dressed in their finest attire for International Women's Day. Whilst their appearance may have been different from other days of the protest, their demand was not, with their only demand being this 8th of March, that the dwellings they own not be demolished. We would not be here today if Rama did not formulate this project to steal 40 million euros. We would not be blocking the road, but instead we would be celebrating. Today is the 126th day of our protest, and we will stay here until Eddie Rama confirms that the construction project has been terminated, said one resident of Ostia. Next to them were the former opposition MPs who, in support of their cause, said the only way to protect their dwelling was the removal of the Prime Minister, and for this they encouraged continued protests. The long-running protest by residents of the Ostia area is an effort to protect those residents, which will be demolished to make way for the construction of the new ring road. Furthermore, the chair of the Democratic League of Women, Albana Vokshi, called on all women to attend en masse the opposition protest, which is to be held on the 16th of March. A dermatologist at the Hospital of Leisure was violently attacked in his office yesterday after refusing to assess a patient who had not passed through the referral system appropriately. Dermatologist Zef Doda was struck with heavy objects by 24-year-old Eduard Leshi, who surrendered himself to police yesterday and admitted that he was under the influence of alcohol at the time of the incident. Having undergone the necessary examinations, it has been determined that Dr. Doda has suffered fractures to parts of his face. Now, the fourth attack on medical service providers in 2019, the staff of Leisure's hospital took to protesting today in a sign of solidarity towards their colleague. Medical practitioners are demanding for the introduction of round-the-clock police presence at hospital premises, as well as for violent attacks against hospital employees to be considered a special penal offence. According to healthcare workers, cases of violence against them have reached concerning levels, and they have become fearful of carrying out their duties on a day-to-day basis without police protection. Infectious disease specialist at the Hospital of Leisure, Martin Marcu, stated, "We seek support from the state to protect us whilst we conduct our duties." Marcu's colleague, Dr. Vladimir Martini, added the new laws should come into effect as soon as possible. The medical staff at the Hospital of Leisure plan to continue their protest on Monday with an accompanying list of requests to be sent to the Ministry of Health. This is according to Dr. Tonin Froku, who announced Leisure Hospital will organise another protest for awareness on this issue and will also submit a list of requests which will be addressed to the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health has made a request to strengthen the penal code for violence against doctors, as well as having established a new scheme relating to hospital visiting hours in an attempt to curb such violent attacks on hospital employees. Despite some interruptions and fierce debates, the Kosovar Assembly yesterday approved the platform on which they will focus their efforts towards determining a comprehensive agreement in order to normalise relations with Serbia. The platform for dialogue received 61 votes in favour with 1 abstention, while MPs of the opposition parties, the Democratic League of Kosovo and Vetvendosia, boycotted the session. The boycott was conducted on the grounds that these opposition parties considered the project submitted by the government as unconstitutional, as it leaves the option of impacting Kosovo's territorial sovereignty open. Prime Minister Haradinaj did not hesitate to criticise the opposition that did not become part of the process, while stressing that the approved guidance document represents the country's strategic interests. Chair of the negotiating team, Fatmir Limaj, also appreciated the platform's approval as good news, adding that Kosovo already has an official position at the negotiating table with Serbia. However, Serbia did not seem to welcome the vote, and it is reported that President Aleksandar Vučić is calling a meeting of the National Security Council to address what could be called an informal war revelation. Citing the first point of Kosovo's negotiating platform, which is that Serbia officially recognises Kosovo's independence, Director of the Office for Kosovo in the Serbian government, Marko Duric, stated that Pristina continues to put Serbia in a difficult position. Duric went on to add that since 2011, Kosovo has consistently displayed to the international community that they do not want to dialogue with their northern neighbour. The Australian Embassy hosted an event last night in a show of support for their collaboration with the Albanian Women's Democracy Network, which aims to ensure women in politics have the skills, tools and confidence to put forward legislation and enact paths of change. Gathering under the slogan "Balance for Better," the work of women and girls in the fields of local government, business and activism were presented, challenging the prejudice that many women face. The aim of the event was to highlight the collaborative work between the Australian Government and the WDN Albania to engage in helping to overcome the challenges in creating a more gender-balanced world. Australian Consul in Rome, Belinda Waldron, spoke of the commitment to ensuring that Albanian women and girls are able to continually evolve their professional and economic ambitions, further consolidating their status in society. The Australian Embassy is currently collaborating on 3 major projects in Albania for their foreign aid programs. Such events are held each year by the Australian Embassy in Tirana on or around International Women's Day to show their support to the women and girls of Albania. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join us again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.